We all love playing games of word association. Today we're going to try it with some different canine-related words. Welcome back to the McCann Dogs podcast.
We published a quick video this week, which I thought was hilarious. It was basically a word association game, and it was what a great idea. I'm not sure whose idea this was, probably Dan, but what a great idea. It was such a funny video to watch, and I thought, that's it. We're doing the same thing on the podcast. It won't be as funny because for the video that we put out, it was really word association. So basically it was like one word out and then a few words back, and that was it.
And because it's a video, you'd see the video response.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. But I thought today we could play sort of the same game, but take a little bit more time to dive deeply into why we don't chose the answers that we did.
Why either we do or don't like the word.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Okay.
So I think in the spirit of the word association game, we'll start like that, but then of course we'll dive in a little bit deeper.
Sounds good.
So first, I think it's important to say that the preparation for today's podcast was to type the words out on a paper and then cut them into little pieces so we could put them in our toolbox. And I brought them from the training hall over to the studio in a poop bag.
I did see you with a green poop bag, and I was wondering why you were bringing it into the studio.
Well, I cut them all up, and I thought I should put them in something, and I was going to find an envelope, and then I thought, you know what? Why don't I just use a poop bag, and then I'll have a poop bag that I can use later for other things.
I've put things in poop bags, and during the pandemic, I also used them as a glove when I pumped gas.
Oh, good idea.
Yes.
I think I did something similar. Yeah, you know what? You might have told me that. I might have gotten that idea from you.
I'm full of good ideas.
Oh, my goodness. Podcast or gas pump poop bags.
Right.
Podcast poop bags. Poop bags are good for everything.
Right.
And of course now I'll stick it in my pocket and I'll use it for its actual intended purpose later.
Yeah. And you could put a sandwich in it too, and then nobody's going to take your sandwich. Like if you put a sandwich in a poop bag in the fridge, no one's going to take that.
That's true.
Or even at home, if you have like a brownie or
as long as you get the order of which goes in first right, you're good.
Yes, yes.
And if you're doing brownie, you better get it right.
Right.
Because there's not going to be a visual.
Exactly. Yes, yes. So yeah, if you have one brownie left and you want to be sure it's for you, then put it in a poop bag in your fridge.
There you go.
And then just kind of mention that, I'm taking a fecal sample into the vet later to check for worms.
And nobody's going to steal your lunch.
They're going to go, that's what's in there.
Oh my gosh. Someone's going to lodge a complaint with the HR department that there is poop in the fridge, in the public fridge.
I was going to do it in my home fridge.
Oh, I got a good one for the first one.
Okay.
First one. I should have printed them out like big so I could flash them at the camera for people who are watching the podcast, but I didn't. They're little. I'll still flash them at the camera, but they're small. So my first one, dog parks.
Oh, it's the unknown. It's the great unknown.
Into the great wide open. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. Yes. We make no secret of our position on dog parks. We do not like dog parks. We do not encourage people to go to dog parks. We do not encourage people to use dog parks in any way other than maybe as a distraction by working outside of the dog park and using, the distraction of other dogs that aren't going to get to your dog and disrupt your training as good distractions, but truly, what are some of the key reasons that you think dog parks are not a good idea?
Well, the bulk of the dogs in the dog park are out of control, and that's why they're at the dog park. The people can't properly exercise them, elsewhere, or aren't, taking the time to train them. So they go to the dog park, and a lot of wrestling and horrible behavior that you don't want to subject your dog to.
Yeah, for me, it's totally the anonymity factor.
Yes.
And we hear, of course, being in the industry, we hear a lot of stories, some good, but most bad. We hear very little good stories actually about dog parks. Most of it are things that have come to us as very negative things.
Yes.
Dogs who have been hurt, things that have gone on, dogs have picked up this, that, and the other, or they're not coming when they're called. A lot of people come to us with adolescent dogs because they've been going to the dog park, and then they get to the point where the dog park fun is so well known to the dog that it overrides any sort of cooperation that they've been getting up to that point. And of course, as you said, if they're not training with the dog, then eventually you're going to get to a point where your dog says, nope, I'd much rather stay here and party with my friends.
Right.
And then of course the problem just gets worse and worse and worse. And the human either stops going to the dog park, so the dog stops getting that interaction, and they end up just sort of having the dog stuck at home, using the backyard at home, etc. So training is the thing that allows you to get out and about with your dog,
right,
and enjoy your dog and whatnot. And
yes, and I would far rather. I know there's different websites you can go to rent yards and to rent areas.
What is it, Sniff Spots now?
Yeah, Sniff Spot. Yeah. And you can rent somebody's yard or rent somebody's acreage. And now it's just you and your dog. Yeah. And you can actually play ball, play frisbee, run about, have some fun, let your dog do what they want to do, then have some training too without another dog coming in and interfering. Or if you're a little bit of an introvert like I can be, I don't want to stand and chat with the people at the at the dog park. Maybe I do, but some days I don't.
You're funny. Oh my gosh, you're funny. So here's the thing with other dogs. Other dogs are part of our dogs' lives in some capacities. Whether it's just us passing other dogs on the street, whether it's us teaching our dogs to have good manners around other dogs, etc. If you want to have your dog have playmates too, there's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. But you need to consider the fact that if you had a child, you wouldn't just throw them out there and say, okay, go play with whomever you want, however you want. Any other child can join in at any point, and there's not going to be any problems.
Exactly.
Right?
And your child is 3. It doesn't matter if a 17-year-old boy suddenly just starts slamming through there on his skateboard. That's okay too.
That's a good point.
Yeah, survival of the fittest.
Yeah, dog parks are not. I mean, they're. If I had to use a dog park, I know that there are some people who are probably thinking like, I have no other choice. I don't have off-leash space.
Yes.
Whatever the case may be.
People live like in New York City.
Yeah.
Things like that. That is your only option.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. So we've actually done episodes on dog parks, and we have lots of great information and ideas on if you have to use them, how to use them effectively. But if I did have to use a dog park as my only means of sort of having time with my dog to be able to run, I would make sure I went early in the morning or late at night, sometime when there's not a whole lot of people dropping in. I would make sure that I picked my dog's friends wisely, and I would try to get a group or a couple of other dogs that I knew played well with my dog, that I knew my dog would play well with in return, and there wouldn't be any of that sort of tension of, are they going to get along? Are they not? Right. New dogs getting into their space, and then all of a sudden here comes another new dog, and just all of the changes that happen in those moments. Like, truly, dogs form units, of course, but they don't form new units with every dog they meet.
Right, yes.
And we put them in a fairly unnatural state by saying, okay, let's go visit this new dog and make friends with this new dog, etc. So we also end up teaching our dogs to be obsessed with playing and with other dogs because they get that constant adrenaline rush, right?
Yep.
And you see the dogs who know.
It's like an addictive drug to them.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I've heard there's dog parks with memberships.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. So I guess you have to go through some membership process. Okay. And if you or your dog are not suitable, then you don't get in. So I would say that's something to look for. If you really truly want to use dog parks, look for ones that are policed, that have a membership, that have a committee that run it. That way, just somebody, can't come off the street with an aggressive dog and throw it into the mix.
Right. Because it takes the anonymity factor out of it.
Yes.
And there's accountability there because if that dog has a membership, we know who that person is. We know who that dog is. If there is something that goes, unfortunately, wrong, you have that person's information.
Yes.
Like, one of the things that happens in the stories that we hear all the time is the dog fight happens, and then whoever's dog was responsible
takes off.
All the hubbub dies down, and that person's just gone.
Yes.
People realize that person and their dog have just taken off, and they're out of there. And it's, there's no accountability there. So if you have a $3,000 vet bill through no fault of your own, and someone else's, choice to bring their dog who wasn't appropriate to the dog park, you're going to be on your own. And $3,000 is probably a drop in the bucket these days. I can't believe how much vet care has gone up.
Yes.
It's tremendous.
Having worked in vet emergency, I saw what can happen in dog parks. I saw dogs come in, and often it was little dogs and puppies. Oh. And, we saw a puppy with a permanent back injury. Like, my heart broke for this little dog. He's going to live with a back injury all his life. All because he went to a dog park at like 12 weeks of age. Like, who would do that?
Not a good idea for puppies at all. Some dogs will be very tolerant of puppies. Lots of dogs will not be tolerant of puppies. So choose your friends wisely. There's no harm in having some dog friends, but make them dogs that you know that they're going to play well with your dogs have gotten along in the past, they have similar play styles, etc. And I would also work training into that scenario. So I would say to my friend who had that dog, I would say, hey, let's meet at such and such a park so we can do some training, and then the dogs can have a little play maybe. So, and from there, I would go to the park, and the first thing I would do is not let the dogs play.
Right.
The first thing I would do is say, okay, let's do some obedience stuff with these two dogs so that we know that we have them listening before we let them get together and play. Yes. And then from there, I would also make the play a little bit about training and do some call outs and do some, call outs to settle so that I can have my dog practice being adrenalized and then coming down from that adrenaline. And then I would send them back to play again so we can repeat the whole thing. So it's not just about the fun. Right. It's not just about the party. It's about developing good skills as well in that party. Perfect. Anything else you want to say about dog parks?
Nope. I think we covered it.
Dog parks. Done. Okay. This one. Purebred, mixed breed, or rescue dog. These were actually 3 individual ones, and I just kind of put them together.
Right. So, yeah. All great options.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All great options. All require thoughts. All, none.
That. Ding, ding, ding,
right,
ding, ding, ding. Where's our bell? There needs to be a bell.
Ding,
all
ding, ding,
require thought.
Yes.
There is no avenue that you're going to go into with a dog where you can just go, oh, that one's cute, I'm going to take that one, and guarantee that your life is going to be wonderful.
That only happens in Disney movies.
Exactly. Exactly. And this ain't no Disney movie.
Right. No.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, all of these things, I would say, purebred, mixed breed, rescue dog, every single one of them requires some research. The purebred dog, is that dog being bred by a good breeder? Is the dog being started well? Like my puppy that I just brought home at 8 weeks old, Levon, he was incredibly started. He had so many benefits to his upbringing for those first 8 weeks from this wonderful breeder that I went with, that when he came home with me, he already was comfortable with the crate, not completely crate trained, but comfortable with the crate. He had so much early stimulation already that he just sort of hit the ground running, and he was like, okay, I'm just going to take life in stride. He's been absolutely a gem, like just a wonderful dog. I've gotten all of my dogs from good breeders, and I've had great success with that. A lot of the times people will choose mixed breeds. What are your thoughts on mixed breeds?
I think a mixed breed is a fine choice.
Yeah.
There's so many good mixed breeds I can think of, especially my friends' dogs growing up. Like they'd often have these farm type collie mixes and just such good old dogs.
Yeah.
And so I think if it's a mixed breed, but if it's, I want to say it's got to be mixes that I feel are compatible too. Sometimes I'll see 2 breeds that have been mixed intentionally, and I think, well, I don't know, that's kind of weird. Like, will the dog's structure support the other dog's structure? What kind of coat? That coat's going to be a nightmare to look after. Or that's 2 really silly breeds you've put together. Now they're going to be extra silly, to train.
That would be my perfect dog.
Like a clown, clown-like.
I like the clowns.
Right, yeah. So, so I think, I was thinking of a random bred mixed breed. Yeah. Like just, oops, my dog got out and, bred another dog down the street
and let's talk about that for a minute, because how does that dog end up coming to age at 8 weeks when it goes home? If it's somebody that just goes, oh no, I accidentally let my dog get out, and they accidentally were still intact, and they accidentally ran into the dog next door, and then they accidentally had puppies. Like, that person, to me, is not a planner. No. Is not somebody who is well-versed in early neurological stimulation.
Right.
Is not even really, accidents happen. Don't get me wrong. Stuff happens. We all have, moments where we're like, oh my gosh, how did I let that happen? But truly, this is a big accident if your dog gets loose and ends up, mating with another dog. And how responsible will that person be in the rearing and the raising of those puppies?
Exactly.
Right? Yes. How much of a good start are those puppies going to have? So I would question that.
And, too, I'd really want to see, just like I want to see the parents of my breeders, from an ethical, heritage breeder, I still want to see parents really well of an unknown mix. So, I'm going to really take a look at that mother, and I'm going to ask, do we know who the father is? Can I go and knock on their door and meet this dog? And I want to ask questions too, because all dogs generally are good at home. Like they're on their best behavior, they're relaxed.
Yep.
But when you take that dog out on a walk, like what's it like out on a walk? What's it like if it's startled on a walk? Heritage breeders know these things because we get our dogs out. We're going to dog shows. We're taking them here. We're taking them to obedience classes. We're going places. So we know how our dog acts under stress.
Right.
We know our dog's flaws.
Yes.
Whereas a dog that lives at its home, the people may not know the dog's flaws.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Getting a good mixed breed, often people think that it is just about finding that dog in the paper. Like, what do you think about a dog that is advertised in the classifieds in the paper?
I would question why the person didn't have homes lined up before. I know most of the dogs I've bought, you go on a list a year or years before, and the whole litter is sold before it's even born.
Yeah.
And so I find it weird that people breed puppies and don't have one buyer yet.
Yeah. Well, and I think that that's what happens when it's an oops breeding and an accidental breeding, and they're not necessarily a breeder, so they're not mastering this craft, and then we end up calling them backyard breeders.
Right.
And backyard breeders is just a term that's come up for people like this who end up with that oops, or who decide, oh, you know what? I have a dog. Let's let them have one litter. I want my children to experience this. I want my family to experience this. I want to experience this. All these things that are more
or
driven.
they want to make money. Basically,
money
it's like
is
they
definitely
see, look at all the
factor.
people making money with their poodle crosses.
Well, and this is exactly why, this is a good conversation, because this is exactly why you need to be careful about where you do get your mixed breeds. Because now I'm thinking about doodles and whatnot.
Right, yes.
Right? And I'm thinking about all of the people that have jumped on the doodle craze recently and are breeding indiscriminately to just charge this big bill. Right. So this is why all of these things, whether you're getting a purebred dog, whether you're getting a mixed breed like a doodle or another combination, or whether you're getting a rescue dog, do your research, do some homework, make sure that you're not, especially with the rescue dog situation. Right now, there's so much motion towards what's called retail rescue. And there's so much movement towards, it sounds pessimistic, but it's not. Unfortunately, it is what is happening right now, and it's creating the rescue situation. When you have people who are unscrupulous, who are breeding dogs that they're not putting the thought into, they're not putting the care into, and then they're selling them off as rescue dogs.
Right.
You really need to question, how are we fueling the whole rescue industry? Instead of squashing the rescue industry, instead of rescuing all the dogs and helping them and giving them good homes, there's this entire market of people who are willing to breed dogs to pass off as rescues.
Yes.
And, that is something that I know nobody wants to contribute to, who wants to help a dog. Nobody wants to contribute to that and create a space for more dogs to be in that situation. So do your homework.
Yes.
100% do your homework. All right.
Okay, let me grab one.
Do it.
Okay, Shannon. Pee-pad.
Pee-pad?
Pee-pad.
I need one. No.
Shannon wears them.
We've been in the podcast room for a long time now, and there's no toilet in here, and I could use a pee pad. Pee pad's generally not a great idea. Not something that's going to be helpful for you or for your puppy at all.
It's an extra step.
It is.
That you don't often need to do.
Exactly.
But
and sometimes they're helpful.
Right, because I have spoken on one podcast. Yes.
Podcast of the past.
How I did use pee pads to train a dog, and it was necessary in that moment in time, and it was seamless. I feel like I did a great job, and it was an extra step, but it was a necessary step I needed to do at the time.
So I would say then that's a really good way to sort of put it in perspective, is make it a thought out step. So it's not just, okay, I'm going to make sure that my dog doesn't have accidents on the floor by throwing this pee pad down in the house. Because really what that message is, pee in the house.
Right.
It's okay to pee in the house.
Pee on a soft surface in the house.
Exactly. If I was going to use a pee pad, I do remember having this conversation now that I'm saying this again. If I was going to use a pee pad, I would treat it like it was like a potty patch of some sort.
Right.
I would put a leash on my puppy. I would walk them up to it. I would treat it like it was the outdoors. And then I would make a gradual transition of that pee pad outdoors, sort of like you did with Cowboy.
Yes.
So, you know what? Why don't you tell the story again about how you used a pee pad effectively?
Well, when I got my smooth Saluki puppy, Cowboy, it was January. And she had come from the United States, and she had lived under a heat lamp her whole life. So Canadian winters were extremely cold.
Oh, my goodness.
At the same time, I had my son, who had recently just turned 2. So he was still very young. So I couldn't just, with a puppy, when you're housebreaking, you see them squat and you rush them outdoors. So here I am rushing outdoors in January. I put down my Saluki puppy, who has basked under a heat lamp all her life, and she started to scream outdoors because of the cold. Yeah. And then I hear screaming in the house, and there's my 2-year-old son at the back door, Mommy. And all of a sudden I realize I've left a 2-year-old unattended in the house, and he's extremely up. He's already jealous of the new puppy because all the attention it's getting. Goodness. And I realized I can't be, first I have a dog that's just not dealing with this cold well. But the bigger thing was I had a 2-year-old child that I just couldn't.
No, of course
I can't leave unattended in the house.
Absolutely.
If I didn't have my son unattended, then, maybe I would have worked through it with the dog. But I thought my priority is my child, and I cannot leave an unattended child in the house. So I had to use pee pads. At that point, until the weather got nice enough that I could grab the dog and my son and go outside.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. Well, and I have a 17-week-old puppy right now, so this is a fairly fresh experience. A couple of accidents in the house that he did have were fairly fresh experiences, and they really do happen just in the blink of an eye. When he first came home, he really wasn't even squatting per se, so I didn't even have that lead up of a squat to go, oh, you're about to pee. It would just suddenly start falling out of him. So I can completely appreciate. You have to grab a puppy under one arm and a toddler under the other arm, and out you go.
Right, out into like 2 feet of snow, and it's like
and
minus
then you realize
6,000.
You didn't put on shoes.
Right, yeah, or the child's not wearing shoes. Like it's just it was not a good situation. So what I did was I was lucky enough. My house, I could put an X pen with pee pads in it right at the back door.
Perfect.
So already she was learning that the pee pads were at the back door to move to the back door. So as the weather got better, I was able to move the pee pad outdoors. And so I'd see her walk to the back door going like, where's my X pen of pee pads? And okay, out we go.
Nice.
And there was the pee pad outside, and she would go on it. And then we eventually just got rid of that. And my son, by that time too, a lot of his jealousy of having a new puppy in the house had
he'd lost interest.
Right, yeah, exactly. He wasn't jealous. I remember the first time he saw me with the puppy in my lap. I remember him crying because he, just turned 2. They don't understand.
Of course.
Yes. So.
Oh my goodness. So I mean, with some thought and with a training plan, if it's something that is necessary. So maybe if you live in an apartment or a condo or something like that, and you have an 8-week-old puppy, and it's gonna, you're on the 9th floor or you're on the 27th floor,
right? Yeah,
or the 82nd floor.
I can't imagine. Trying to. Yeah, get a puppy, because when they wake up from a nap too, they have to go immediately.
Absolutely. Well, and even just trying to get Levon from his crate inside my office to the back door at McCann's, there were several times that I had pee running down my leg because, you pick them up and they're full. They've just woken up and they need to go, and they have no ability to hold it when they're 8 weeks old. Like, they've just come from situations in most cases where they just stop mid-play, pee, and then carry on with life.
They pee at will.
So you end up with this scenario where they've got a full bladder because they've just woken up, and you're squeezing them by holding them on your side. And guess what happens when you squeeze a full bladder? It's not pretty. It's not pretty at all. All right, I'm going back in. Next one is, ready? New puppy.
Yay!
I figured there was some sort of happy squealing coming.
Yes, new puppy
Honda groaned.
Right, yeah. Honda says, I don't want a new puppy. I love the smell of new puppy breath.
Oh my gosh, puppy breath is wonderful. It fades so quickly,
I know.
Though. It always reminds me of coffee. What does it make you think of?
Coffee?
Yeah.
That coffee smell?
It always makes me
think
of
new
coffee.
Car smell.
No new car smell for puppy breath.
Coffee. Coffee for puppy. Once my puppies lose their new puppy breath smell, I take them back and get a new one. I returned them to the puppy store.
I trade them in for another one.
Or I take them back and get them resprayed. Yeah.
Oh, man. New puppy. Oh, the first thing that comes to my head, snuggles. Mm-hmm. Puppy snuggles, fuzzy puppy snuggles. Lots of work.
Yep.
Definitely lots of work. Mm-hmm. Shouldn't be discounted.
Yep. Basically a change in your routine.
Yes. Huge change in the routine. But you know what? It's so funny you say that because I consistently keep thinking the routine gets reestablished so quickly.
Yes.
That I truly have a hard time thinking about what life was like before Levon.
Yes.
Like when it was just me and Ned and everything was so easy. I didn't
Right,
have to really think about anything at that point. You know, you get to the point where they're really trained up, and once they're really trained up, now you got to go get a new puppy because you can't get spoiled with a really well-trained dog.
Yes.
Nothing else.
Get complacent.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. When are you getting your new puppy?
I don't know. I guess I'll wait for Santa to bring me one.
I'm going to bring you a new puppy. I'll decide on the breed for you.
Whoa. Okay, I have one for you. A stubborn dog.
Those exist?
They do.
They're mythical
The
creatures.
stubborn dog and the stubborn mule.
So here's the thing. We breed dogs like terriers, and then we call them stubborn. But what's a terrier bred to do?
They're bred to go after a badger or a groundhog that's fighting back.
Or a hissing rat.
Yep.
I always think of that picture.
Yep.
The red-eyed rat hissing.
And the terrier cannot back down.
Exactly.
Back when we actually used terriers for vermin control, you know, the farmer wouldn't have any use for a terrier that said, "I'm afraid of the rats."
Yeah.
You'd have no use for that dog. So it would never live on to have puppies.
Absolutely.
So they were bred for the best, most bravest dogs.
You got it. We have these tendencies in our breeds, and they make some of their behaviors very predictable, and we like that, and we like it when we can use it to our advantage. But then when we get a breed like a terrier, and that tenacity is not channeled properly, and the tenacity is directed towards things that the human doesn't like, then as a human, we say that's stubborn. So in one construct, it's very desirable. And in another construct, it's not desirable.
Right, exactly. If that person had a rat, they would love that their terrier was tenacious and going after it.
Exactly.
Yes.
I think that the best thing that you can do if you are getting a dog is research that breed.
Right.
Research the tendencies and not the good stuff. Not the good stuff.
Right.
Not that terriers are fun and clowny and goofish.
Yes.
Like, who doesn't love that?
Right.
Goofish?
Exactly.
Is that a word?
Goofish.
Goofish.
It's a new word.
Go
It's
fish.
a new word. Yes.
Go play cards.
I'd like to buy a goofish, please.
Yeah. Like, who doesn't love those qualities?
Right,
I mean,
yes.
nobody's going to say, "Oh, I don't want that dog because they're funny. They have a great sense of humor.
Right.
You know, they're active and joyful, and you know, they make me smile on a daily basis." No, you need to think about the negative qualities of the breed. Like tollers, they scream. You know, there's this noise that comes out of them when they are super excited that is ear piercing,
Right.
glass shattering. Like Google toller scream. It is just like bizarre. I've heard it hit a lot over the years with my tollers. They're muckers. My dogs are constantly a mess, because they like to be in the mud and they like to be in the water and they like to be running and you know what? That makes me happy.
Right.
I like that. It is a negative quality, but I'm very much the same.
Right.
I like to be in the mud and I like to be in the mess and I like to have twigs in my hair and I like to be exploring in the bush.
Right, yeah.
And I want dogs that like that too. You know, if I had a little Bichon Frise that would tiptoe around the puddles, that dog wouldn't like my lifestyle.
Right.
So.
No, Atari used to tiptoe around puddles, so she would have been horrified at your walks.
Exactly. And it wouldn't have been fun for either of us. You know, there's actually a really wonderful compilation of the top 10 reasons not to get a toller. That was one of the first documents I came across when I was looking into tollers. And this was going back to like 2000 when I was trying to narrow down a breed that I wanted. And I brought Jaden home in 2001. And reading through that list, there wasn't anything on that list of negative traits that I thought, I can't live with that.
Right.
You know, they're shedding in mass. The tollers scream. They're very busy dogs. Like there's a whole bunch of things that some people would find negative. And I find some of them negative. But they're things that I'm well aware are going to be a trait in the breed. And I'm like the scream, for example. Yeah. I don't love the scream. I don't love that this awful noise comes out of my dog sometimes. Tyler, if I pointed a camera at him, he would start screaming.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what it was that I made noises or something like that when I would take his picture to get his attention, and then he decided that was exciting. But like obnoxious and awful noise and just terrible. But you know, I mean, I can live with it.
Right.
Right? If it was a deal breaker, I want to know that up front because I know I can live with the good qualities of a breed. It's the bad, negative qualities of a breed.
Yes.
If they have any. You know, I would say, Honda, I would say you're perfect. There's no bad qualities in you.
Actually, he's a toy breed, classified as a toy breed by the Kennel Club, and they're bred to be a companion. So they have very few bad traits because they've been bred for companionship.
Just lovely to live with.
Whereas as we get a lot of people who have herding breeds and they're having trouble with car chasing. They're having trouble with the dogs nipping their kids. They're having trouble with, puppy nipping. And, when they go to discipline, the dogs comes right back at them.
Yes.
Because they've been bred that, if a cow takes a kick at you, you got to come right back at it.
Absolutely.
So, really think about what you're getting.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not that you can't work through some of the bad qualities, but you can't work through them if you don't know they're going to be there, and you can't work through them if you're in denial about them being there.
Yes,
so,
if you're going to label them as stubborn and just say, I can't do it, then...
Exactly.
And not with that attitude.
Not with that attitude, you don't.
Yes.
All right.
So no such thing as a stubborn dog.
Oh yeah, that was the one that you read.
Yes.
Yeah, I totally agree. No such thing as a stubborn dog. There's just different ways of looking at them. What does it say, Honda?
Okay, Honda, what's that one? Honda says Pitbull.
Pitbull.
Honda says, I'm scared.
Pitbull. The word Pitbull's in there. So
Pitbull, he's a great singer. I think he's appearing somewhere in I think my son might have said he's in St. John's, Newfoundland or something. Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Well, pit bulls are a breed of dog. And just like any other breed of dog, pit bulls were bred for certain activities.
Yes.
And pit bull is sort of a catch-all term. So this is also something that people often don't understand, is that a pit bull is not a specific breed. And I misspoke earlier when I said a breed of dog. A pit bull is not a specific breed of dog. A pit bull is a catch-all of a whole bunch of different breeds of dogs.
Like terrier.
That's right.
Or collie.
Yeah.
Or spaniel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And generally speaking, there are pit bulls that still have very close ties to what they were bred to do, which was, bull baiting and hog.
Right.
Hog hunting
and
and dog fighting.
Dog fighting. Yeah.
So there's intollers, for example, even though we're super far removed from certain lines of dogs, you still see some of those genes come out. So that's going to be the case with pit bulls as well. And there are certain situations where people are often quick to put the pit bull into this like nanny designation or horrible dog designation. There's very rarely anything in between, I find, with pit bulls. They're either calling them pibbles and saying that it's all in how you raise them, or the other way around, right? And truly that each individual dog needs to be assessed for who they are.
Right.
And these are very powerful dogs.
Yes.
Very, very powerful dogs.
That's what scares me. If all dogs bite, but would you rather be bitten by a Cocker Spaniel or a Pit Bull?
Yeah.
And maybe other dogs bite more, but pit bulls are so much capable of doing so much more damage. If you're listening, Google pressure per square inch of different breeds' jaws, and if you look at the pressure per square inch of a pit bull bite as compared to a Doberman bite, the pit bull will be double, I bet, maybe even triple,
probably.
So even being bitten by a Doberman is better than being bit by a pit bull. They can crush your arms. If you have a child, they can crush your child. So that's, I love pit bulls. I think they're stunning to look at. They're fabulous. I see wonderful, wonderful temperaments, but I'm afraid of the damage they could do.
Yeah. Well, and I think that getting into any sort of dog, any sort of breed, you need to be honest. And we're always trying to defend what we love, and people who love pit bulls want to defend them, and they want to defend them all together. And I don't think it does a service to the breed at all. I think that it does a disservice to us as humans as well, because when we come to believe that, it's just a myth that, pit bulls are powerful and can do a lot of damage because they're really sweet little pibbles, that's not reality. That's not. And we need to go into these things understanding that, this is a very powerful dog. I need to train it. It might be the sweetest dog alive, and it might be the sweetest dog alive for all of its life towards people and dogs. but it needs training. It needs to be responsive, and you need to be honest about what that dog is. And if you have a pit bull that has throwbacks and lines that go back to fighting, that instinct could be lying below the surface. And you need to be aware of that so that you can make sure you put steps in place to protect yourself, protect your dog, protect everybody. Right?
Yes.
Just make the situation safe.
Right.
An honest assessment of the situation will keep it safe.
Yes.
Thinking that, it's just, all myth. Definitely not the
Just
case,
like
so.
in all breeds, there's good and there's good ones and there's bad ones.
Absolutely.
There's
and I would say
Chinese crested powder puffs that bite, and there's Chinese crested powder puffs that don't bite. But
biting Ewoks?
Right.
I don't believe it.
There is, yes. And same with pit bulls. There's pit bulls that bite. And just because some lady puts on Facebook, mine's a gentle soul and would never hurt a fly, doesn't mean that the one down the street is a gentle soul that will never hurt a fly. That's what always bugs me when people say, well, mine's fine. Well, that
Absolutely.
doesn't, what help is that? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But look at the bite strength. It's fascinating to look at the pressure per square inch that these dogs can exert.
And truly, I mean, this could be said of any of our powerful breeds, whether it's a German Shepherd, whether it's a Rottweiler, whatever the dog is, look at what it's bred to do. Look at what its heritage is. Look at what those genes are propelling it to do. And just make sure that you're ready for whatever that thing is.
And having lived in downtown Hamilton, I saw so many people with pit bulls. And I don't know, they looked like they had got the dog to try to make them look more macho.
Gotcha.
I didn't see families walking down the street with a pit bull. I saw, characters walking down the street often, and that gives the pit bull a bad rap too. And I felt bad for some of the dogs. It's like, I don't know what kind of home you're in, buddy.
Aww.
So. Yeah, often the wrong people are attracted to that breed as well.
Yes. And I think that's true of a lot of the really macho looking.
Right.
I mean, they're tough looking. They're strong. They add strength. They add power,
Yeah.
I feel, honestly, when I
feel powerful enough to walk down the street with my fluffy dog.
I started with a Rottweiler, and I certainly didn't get her because I wanted to feel like I could go anywhere and was powerful in this thing. Mm-hmm. But I would walk the cottage roads up north. We had a cottage in Muskoka as a kid, as I was growing up. And I would walk with her through the darkest and most deserted areas. And I never even thought twice about it.
Right, yeah.
And then when it was just me and the tollers, it was very quick. Like my brain is very hardwired to be, we're women. We have to. We safety plan everywhere, right? It's what we do. My brain is very hardwired to safety plan. And when it was just me with the tollers, I would not go down those same places. If Quincy was with us, I would go. If she wasn't, no. You know what? I'm probably better off to just stick to the more well-traveled places, et cetera. And she made me feel safe. So I think that's probably a big part of it. I didn't want to feel tough, but feeling safe and secure is a really nice feeling.
Yes.
So I was young, Now I'm just tough all around. All right.
Now the Rottweilers hire Shannon to walk with them.
That's right.
Yes.
All right. Here's one. Fur baby.
Oh, a fur baby. Is it? Well, I have a skin baby. Is it similar? Ty is my skin baby.
Get out your skin baby. See, when you put it in that perspective.
Right, it makes it sound silly. No, I don't know where that came from, but that is goofy. That's goofy.
Know.
And I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the people.
Kid. I can handle dog parent, pet parent, even dog mom though. That one doesn't really, I don't love it. I don't think I'd want to be called a dog mom. He's my dog, but I'm not his mom.
Right.
I'm his caregiver.
Exactly. Yeah.
His handler. Owner doesn't sound right either.
Right. Yeah.
There's so much more to it than that. But I don't like the whole fur baby.
Right.
Skin baby. That's my favorite. I want a skin baby. Yeah. No, I really don't actually. But I like my skin niece and nephew. There we go.
Right. Yes. But I find fur baby. It doesn't do the dog the dog is a tremendous creature.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. It's too anthropomorphic.
Right.
It's too much giving human qualities.
Right, yeah. And our dogs, it does them a disservice. Our dogs are animals, and they're a wonderful creature and dog. And why do we want to turn... You know what?
It's
humans, there's a lot of not good humans out there.
Yeah.
So I want to lump my dog as a dog.
Well, most humans you don't see and instantly love, whereas if you're a dog lover, when you see a dog, you instantly love them.
Right, yes. And I think too, our generation and the generations that are coming after us are getting so far removed from farm life, like where we came from. Like all of us originally were from farms.
Yeah.
We all had animals as working animals. And as our grandparents, maybe are some of the last generations to really use animals for work.
This is so true.
And so we're getting so far away from animals.
Yeah.
And now we're calling them fur babies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like what would our grandparents think? Like,
oh, they'd be rolling over.
Right.
Dog tricks. No, truly, I like that your brain went there, because I think that I think we are too far removed from animals, and some of the misconceptions that are out there and some of the assumptions and whatnot, they really don't serve us and they don't serve our dogs very well. Right. So you probably hit the nail on the head with that one. Good nail head hitting.
Okay. Our next one, Shannon, a Kijiji dog.
Oh, a Kijiji dog. We already talked a little bit about that.
Right.
So, I certainly don't think it's the end of the world. There would probably be circumstances where good, well-raised dogs would occasionally appear on Kijiji, but I would not ever just accept the Kijiji ad as any sort of proof. I would always make sure that's a jumping off point. Okay, now I want to meet the dog. I want to meet the parents. I want to know what you did with this litter to raise them.
Right, yes.
All those things. Ask those questions. And if they look at you with a blank stare, run.
Right, yes.
Run, because you're going to have to, potentially 12 to 15 years, you might have to deal with a poorly raised dog to start with, a poorly bred dog to start with, maybe temperament issues, etc.
Right.
Do your research, do your homework.
Right.
Regardless of where you get your dog.
Right. And don't be duped by high prices either.
No.
People charge exorbitant prices for some mixed breeds, and it costs more for some doodles than it costs to buy a purebred.
Yeah, and so let's talk about why the expense is there. So why is it so expensive to get a dog from a good breeder?
A good breeder has put a lot of time and money into her bloodline. So she's paid for the parents to have their hips checked, their eyes checked, their hearts checked. The puppies are coming with, they've been inspected by a vet. They've had first sets of shots.
Yeah.
The parents have been proven possibly in a performance sport, or they've confirmation championships to show that structurally they're good dogs. So the breeder has maybe even paid for a stud dog that is, thousands of miles away and had sperm frozen and sent to her. So there's so much research and investment there. Whereas a lot of mixed breed breeders think, oh, well, they're charging $3,000 for this purebred Rottweiler puppy, so I guess I'll get $3,000 for my Rottweiler puppy too. But yet they've done none of that testing.
Yeah.
They haven't taken the pups to get checked. They have no vaccinations. They haven't been dewormed. There's been no research into it.
Yeah. And so, as an example, what you just said, the Rottweiler puppy, what happens if that Rottweiler puppy is bred and their hips have not been checked?
If the parents' hips have not been checked, then you are taking a chance that possibly one of the parents is dysplastic, and now you might have a puppy that has that, and
hip dysplasia.
Hip dysplasia,
very debilitating for a lot of dogs, especially in the higher grading.
So that breeder now, by not checking their breeding stock, has brought a pup that's going to suffer into the world, and then a family that's going to be devastated.
So here's a question for you. What do you think about hybrid vigor?
There's no such thing as hybrid vigor.
So there's for anybody who's not heard of this, most people have heard the coined phrase hybrid vigor, and it suggests that mixed breeds are more healthy than purebred dogs, and that's usually such an oversimplification of some very complicated things. So typically what people are trying to suggest when they suggest hybrid vigor is that because you've got a poodle and a golden retriever, for example. The poodle has, let's say, poodle problems, and the golden retriever has golden retriever problems. So in theory, if you bred the poodle who has poodle problems to the poodle who has poodle problems, you double up on poodle problems. And therefore you can present bigger poodle problems moving forward, or continue to perpetuate poodle problems moving forward, which might be hip dysplasia, might be heart, might be eyes, might be, there's any number of problems, heart issues, all sorts of things that come along with different dogs. So in theory, that sort of makes sense on some level. Okay, so if I'm breeding my poodle then to a golden retriever that has golden retriever problems, I'm not going to have that issue. But the problem is sometimes the golden retriever and the poodle have the same problems. Right. So now you actually are doubling up on this problem, even though you've heard this phrase hybrid vigor. I couldn't agree with you more. There's no such thing as hybrid vigor. Every breeding is a crapshoot, but
it's like humans. Humans don't. Yeah. Humans have babies with people who aren't related to them at all. So you could say they're almost hybrid. Like if me. Oh yeah, I like where you're going. Scottish descent. Yeah. If I decided to have a baby with somebody on the other side of the world in Thailand or Russia, it doesn't mean my baby's going to be healthier.
No, exactly.
Not at all.
And the difference is that when you are a responsible breeder who's breeding your poodle to another responsibly bred poodle, you've tested for those issues. So if I have an issue that doubles up in both of those dogs, I see that up front, and I'm not going to pair those two dogs.
Right.
So I have a better chance of avoiding that. Whereas if I don't do that testing, and I mean, I can breed a poodle to a golden retriever and do all the health testing and make sure I'm not doubling up on things that are conditions in both breeds.
And especially if I know the bloodlines of the poodle. So I know the poodle's grandparents and I know the poodle's parents. Do I know the golden retriever's parents and grandparents? Do I know siblings?
And,
how are the siblings?
I was just going to say that in the sibling relationship as well. Oh, two of those siblings came up with hip dysplasia at 3 years of age, or PRA, some sort of an eye issue, or whatever the case may be.
Yes, like
I
know
about those things. We have history of those things.
My first Malinois, who passed away very young of leukemia when she was just over 2, she had 2 siblings that died very young of enlarged hearts. So right away the breeder says, there's something, there's something here we cannot do anymore.
Information is power.
Right.
It's so powerful to be able to know that, okay, you know what? Chances are I'm breeding a poodle with excellent hips to a golden retriever with excellent hips. They're going to make puppies with pretty good hips.
Right.
Yeah. Chances are this is going to be okay. Right. I'm not going to ever have a hip dysplasia issue in these puppies. And then of course, if any puppies from that litter that are bred go on to be bred, you're testing those as well. And you know the history behind those dogs. So it's just this, perpetuating good health.
Yes.
Instead of perpetuating myths like hybrid vigor. So,
right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was
we went on for that one.
We did. I liked it. I liked it. Oh,
what is it?
X-Pen.
X-Pens are good at times and not good at times.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just like everything, right?
Right, yeah.
Life is all about balance. If we can find the right balance with things, we can use all the things to our advantage, just in the right ways.
Yeah. X-Pens are also exercise pens, or some people will call them a puppy playpen or playpen. Dog people call them X-Pens. That's what the cool kids call them.
That's what us cool kids call them. I just had to reword your sentence a little bit. Us cool kids.
Yes.
Instead of the cool kids. Yeah. So an X-Pen is a great option when you're starting to give your dog a little bit more freedom. Like Levon, for example, right now. So as a baby puppy, he was relegated to his crate whenever he wasn't out and actually working with me. Now that he's 17 weeks and he's got some skills and he's, he knows how to wait calmly while I open the door, things like that, right? We've developed some communication. Now I can, instead of confining him in the crate, I can confine him a little bit in the X-Pen because things are going well.
Right.
If in the next couple of days, weeks, months, whatever the case may be, I mean, he's in development right now, so ebbs and flows, right? If in the next couple of weeks I suddenly have a change in behavior, it's not unheard of. You have young dogs going through adolescence and all of a sudden things derail a little bit. The world is more exciting, so I forgot how to listen to my name.
Right.
If I need to make his world smaller again, I'll go back to the crate. But as long as everything's going well, I mean, he's not in the X-Pen exclusively outside of the crate.
Right.
He's in the X pen occasionally so that he has a little bit more room to stretch out and chew and, stretch his legs and whatnot. He's still sleeping in his crate. He's still in his crate the overwhelming majority of the time that he is confined. But the X pen's another nice option as well.
Yes.
But it's something that I use on a basis of earning, basically.
Right, yes.
His behavior is good. Everything's great. He's not having accidents. I'm not worried about him peeing in the X pen at this point. So it's a good option. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, I just say we use them a lot too when we go to dog shows. We bring X pens so the dogs can get up and stretch and walk about. I will use them at the cottage or at a campground. I'll set up an X pen. So that way the dog has a bit of freedom, but they're still safe. However, X pens generally have no roof. So dogs can hop out of them. Dogs can also jump on them and knock them over. So I wouldn't put a young, wild, untrained dog in an X pen and go to the beach.
No.
Because when you come home, the dog will probably be gone.
Absolutely. Well, and the problem too with putting a young puppy in the X pen is that they learn to jump up on the side of it pretty quickly. So you really do want to have some manners and some understanding of off before you go to that. Yeah, but for sure.
It's a nice way too to put them out in the grass and be safe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love my X pen. Good tools for the right use, for sure. Oh, this one's controversial.
Uh-oh.
You ready?
Yes.
Treat training.
Oh, the worst.
We love treat training.
Treat training is
we
good.
love it.
Yeah.
You know what? I would liken treat training a dog to me getting a paycheck. You get
a paycheck?
What? You don't?
No.
Uh-oh. Sorry, Marty. I shouldn't have told everybody. Yeah. No, so I forgot what we were talking about.
Treat training.
Treat training. How did I forget that? Oh, squirrel. Yes. Little distractions. Yeah, I would liken treat training to us getting a paycheck.
Right,
so it's something that is meaningful for the dog. Dogs work for meaningful rewards and dogs avoid meaningful consequences. And if we can nail down what those meaningful things are, we're away to the races.
Right.
So for me, money is meaningful because it helps me pay my mortgage and put gas in my car and all of those things that I need to do to have a safe and productive life. Food is meaningful for dogs because it's a currency they understand.
Right.
They enjoy it. They're usually willing to work for it. These are the things that they need to gather in their life.
Yes.
So I think that using rewards in training builds value for us as humans. It makes us have easy to offer rewards to the dog, quick to offer rewards to the dog, and meaningful rewards for the dog.
Yes. So definitely a thumbs up for treat training.
Thumbs up.
Double thumbs up.
All right. I think there's one left in there. Do.
Dog sports.
Dog sports. We love dog sports.
Dog sports fun.
So the actual video was just agility. But I thought, no, you know what?
All dog sports are good.
Yeah.
Right,
I don't think we want to limit it to just agility.
What I like about dog sports is not only is it fun for me and the dog, I've made such good friends.
Yeah.
So
isn't that great?
Yes. Like you meet like-minded people who love their dogs and want to get out and spend time with them and who get it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes, who get you too. Yes. So
Yeah.
it's not only, it's the camaraderie and the fun. It's a hobby. Just like some people go out and play golf and spend a fortune on golf every weekend.
Yep.
We go out and spend a fortune on dogs every weekend.
It's true. Absolutely.
and we have the same camaraderie as a hockey team or yeah.
Exactly. Well, and I don't knit. I train my dogs. So some people knit, some people watch TV, some people play backgammon or do cross stitch, and we train our dogs.
Yes.
So
yes, and it's fun. It is fun, and I have so many good friendships that I've made and so many fun experiences. I've seen so many places because of my dogs too. We had our dogs in New York City. We've had our dogs in Bermuda. Like I've gone so many places and seen so many neat things because of a dog.
I've seen so many. Oh, I don't know what I'm trying to sing here. Anyway, it'll come to me.
Apparently Honda's got something to say now.
Honda has something to say. He says,
let's go play a sport.
To say happy training, everybody.
Happy training.
Bye for now.
The McCann Dogs Podcast is brought to you by McCann Professional Dog Trainers. We help dog owners to have a well-behaved, four-legged family member. Please give us a call at 905-659-1888 or visit us at mccanndogs.com. Happy training!